On a cool morning in the peaceful town of Meadowville, situated among gentle hills and serene rivers, a man named Ethan Walker arose to an unusual noise outside his home. Ethan was familiar with the noises of birds and whispering leaves, but this felt distinct. As he carefully glanced through his window, what met his eyes left him completely shocked. A massive black bear was positioned at the border of his yard, fixating its gaze on his home. However, this bear was not by itself. It had two inquisitive cubs with it that clumsily explored and played anxiously, appearing uncertain of their environment. The bears did not act like ordinary wild creatures. They appeared to be anticipating something or someone. Ethan's heart pounded, but not solely from fear. There was an unusual recognition in the way the bear positioned itself, as if she was aware of her purpose for being there. Ethan inhaled deeply, attempting to remember whether he had previously seen this bear. He reminisced about that day 3 years prior, when his life had changed unexpectedly. On a cold, unforgiving winter morning, Ethan chose to take his dog, Marley, for a stroll in the forest. He frequently relished these strolls to refresh his thoughts and engage with nature. During that time, he was enduring a tough phase, coping with a recent bereavement, and the quiet of the forest provided him comfort. The snow-covered forest was hauntingly silent that morning. There was absolutely no movement, no birdsong, only the noise of his feet crunching through the snow. Ethan and Marley were roughly 20 minutes from his home when Marley began barking nervously. Ethan first brushed it off as the dog's typical inquisitiveness, but then he spotted something unusual among the trees, a young black bear on the ground, appearing exhausted and confused. Ethan was aware that bears usually hibernated in winter, so seeing one outside was odd, to say the least. Ethan's initial reaction was to retreat. Getting close to a wild creature, particularly a bear, was dangerous. However, as he examined it more closely, he saw that the bear was hardly moving, its fur encrusted with frost. It wasn't menacing or hostile. It appeared frail and drained, fighting to raise its head. Ethan's thoughts raced as he attempted to evaluate the circumstances. He realized that if he departed, the bear might not make it given its state. He recognized that intervening might be risky, yet his empathy surpassed his prudence. He swiftly guided Marley back to his house and sifted through his resources. Ethan was uncertain about the winter diet of bears, so he gathered a variety of fish, fruit, and anything else he believed could be beneficial. He packed his truck with the materials and returned to the forest. As he neared the bear, he advanced cautiously, murmuring gently to avoid scaring it. To his relief, the bear did not respond aggressively. It appeared too weak even to rise. Ethan thoughtfully arranged the food at a distance and observed as the bear gradually raised its head, its nose quivering at the aroma of the treats. It carefully moved closer and started to eat. Ethan proceeded to transport multiple bundles of hay from his truck to construct a temporary bed. He realized it wasn't significant, but he wished it would offer some warmth from the chill. He constructed a tiny refuge from sticks, applying the skills he acquired during his time as a Boy Scout. Once he was done, he stepped back, observing the bear carefully. It kept on eating, and he silently departed, wishing he had done enough to provide it a chance to survive. A couple of days later, Ethan's curiosity overwhelmed him, and he went back to the location to check if the bear was still present. As he got closer, he felt relieved to see that the bear had occupied the shelter and seemed to have entered hibernation mode. The view brought him a feeling of achievement and calm happiness. He accomplished something significant, which provided him with a revitalized sense of direction during a period when he had felt adrift. As the years went by, Ethan seldom reflected on that meeting. Life continued, and he occupied himself with his job and maintaining his home. However, On that chilly morning, while he gazed at the big black bear with her cubs, a memory from that winter suddenly appeared in his mind. Ethan suddenly understood that this bear was the one he had assisted in surviving those difficult months. It wasn't merely a stray animal that had come onto his land. It was Simone, the name he had softly named her back then, and now she was accompanied by her cubs, as if she intended to present them to the man who had rescued her. Ethan remained still, uncertain about his next move. He understood that mother bears were extremely protective of their offspring and could be threatening if antagonized. He inhaled deeply, compelling himself to stay composed. He gradually opened his front door, stepping onto the porch. Simone's gaze tracked his every action, yet she showed no signs of hostility. The cubs appeared to be more inquisitive than scared, carefully investigating the perimeter of the porch. Simone advanced a couple of slow strides ahead, her large figure looming over the wooden boards. Ethan understood he needed to proceed with caution. He bent down, attempting to look non-threatening, and softly said to her, "Hello, girl. I recall you." The bear's ears perked up, as though she acknowledged his voice. Ethan dug into his pocket and retrieved an apple, which he gently rolled in the direction of the bear. Simone inhaled the apple's scent before softly grasping it with her mouth. The cubs observed with anticipation, and Ethan grinned, experiencing a profound feeling of bond. In the coming days, Simone and her cubs kept returning. Ethan started placing food outside for them and would sit on the porch, observing as the bears carefully came closer. The cubs, initially cautious, started to play and explore with greater freedom. Ethan still saw his dog Marley looking through the window, her tail wagging with interest. One day, Ethan observed something striking. The cubs were focused intently on Marley, who was currently observing them from the yard. Initially, Ethan felt uneasy, aware that even friendly bears might accidentally injure a dog. But to his surprise, the cubs appeared to acknowledge Marley as a member of this unique family situation. Simone observed serenely from afar, displaying no indications of hostility. Ultimately, Ethan chose to present Marley to the bears, while closely overseeing the situation. He unlocked the door, and Marley carefully moved toward the cubs. Ethan felt relieved as the exchange turned playful and soft. The cubs tumbled in the grass and nudged Marley with their noses, while the dog reacted with joyful wagging. Ethan started recording these visits with a video camera, aiming to preserve these remarkable moments. He shared the videos online, and before long, viewers from everywhere were captivated by the bond between Ethan, Simone, her cubs, and Marley. The videos became popular, and Ethan started getting messages from individuals who were motivated by the special connection he had built with these wild creatures. He never anticipated that his modest gesture of goodwill would result in something so significant. Simone's appearances turned into a common sight. She frequently left her cubs in Ethan's yard as she explored the woods to gather food. The cubs, becoming increasingly independent, would scamper up trees, run around the yard after one another, and even gently nudge Ethan in a playful manner, as though he belonged to their family. Simone appeared to have full trust in him, a fact that both astonished and humbled Ethan. Almost 4 years had gone by since Ethan initially assisted Simone. The cubs had now matured and could take care of themselves, but they continued to see Ethan frequently. It felt as though his house had transformed into a second den for them, a space where they could experience safety and warmth. Ethan experienced great happiness during these visits. He had always cherished nature, but his connection with Simone and her family had provided him with a fresh understanding of the fragile harmony between people and wildlife. One summer night, Ethan rested on his porch, observing Simone and her fully grown cubs frolicking in the garden. He pondered on all that had transformed since that pivotal winter morning. He had been experiencing a tough period at that time, feeling adrift and unsure of his role in the world. Assisting Simone had provided him with a revitalized feeling of purpose and a link to something greater than himself. He discovered that even the tiniest gestures of kindness could leave a significant impression, and that trust and understanding could surpass the most formidable obstacles. Ethan kept watching and recording the bears, gaining deeper insights into their behavior and habits with every season that went by. He turned into a subtle champion for wildlife conservation in his community, sharing his experiences to motivate others to regard nature with kindness and respect. He frequently recounted his experiences to neighbors and friends who were astonished by his connection with the bears. The entire community started to view Ethan's house as a representation of harmony between humanity and nature. Each spring, when the bears woke from their slumber, Ethan looked forward to Simone's arrival. He consistently made goodies for her and her family, experiencing joy and satisfaction upon their arrival. The connection between Ethan and Simone only deepened with time, and he treasured every moment they shared. His narrative became a demonstration of the strength of empathy and the remarkable bonds that could be created when acts of kindness were performed. The bond between Ethan and Simone highlighted the significance of valuing and safeguarding the environment. It demonstrated that even the most untamed and solitary creatures could experience thankfulness and recognition for acts of goodwill. Ethan's residence, originally a tranquil home in a little town, transformed into a refuge and haven of trust for a family of bears. As the seasons shifted and the years passed, the connection between Ethan and Simone remained a source of inspiration for all who learned about their tale. Thus, whenever Simone came back to his yard with her expanding family, Ethan would grin, realizing that his simple gesture of goodwill had fostered something remarkable, a friendship founded on trust, empathy, and a mutual bond to their surroundings.